The Trump administration is now facing pushback after it signaled a willingness to scale back inspections at nuclear facilities. Now, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the NRC, according to Common Dreams, has spent months reviewing its enforcement policies, and as part of that process, sought input from industry groups. Now, not just industry groups, right? They should actually get a lot of input from environmental groups as well. Now, in response, industry representatives requested shifting to a more, quote, self-assessment model, which limited public disclosures to lower level problems at plants and eased the burden of radiation protection and emergency preparedness inspections. Now, according to the Associated Press, which first reported on NRC staffers' suggestions, quote, the recommendations made public Tuesday include reducing the time and scope of some annual inspections at the nation's 90-plus nuclear power plants. Some other inspections would be cut from every 2 years to every 3 years. Now, you know why they're doing this, right? So now, of course, they say, oh, no, it's going to save us money, right? Because, we just posted $1 trillion deficit because of more military spending, of course, and $1.9 trillion in tax cuts for the rich. So we got to get the money back somehow, right? I know. What can we do? Well, we're going to try to cut Social Security. We're going to try to cut Medicare. We're going to try to cut all these programs. And also, since the industry is asking for it, we're also going to cut inspections. The industry, they can self-regulate. It's nuclear power. What could go wrong? As he watches Chernobyl on Netflix. Now, the NRC document that outlines the recommendations reportedly acknowledged that staffers disagree about the inspection reductions, but claims that cutting back, quote, improves efficiency while still helping to ensure reasonable assurance of adequate protection to the public. Efficiency. How does that cut efficiency? Look, do the inspections involve taking the plant offline? If you take the plant offline, there's a lengthy startup process and a cool down process, of course, right? So if that involves shutting it down, then, maybe, of course, limiting the inspections will save that. We'll make it more efficient as it will continue to run. But nonetheless, that is a dangerous proposition because these are, you don't really want to mess with nuclear, right? Now, Union of Concerned Scientists nuclear power expert Edward Lyman explains that the suggestion to decrease federal oversight of nuclear power plants, quote, completely ignores the cause and effect relationship between inspections and good performances, which, of course, makes all the sense in the world. You want to have inspections to make sure they're up to code and that they're doing everything that they need to do in keeping this plant running very smoothly. Now, Democratic NRC member Jeffrey Barron also criticized the staff recommendations. He argued that the agency, quote, shouldn't perform fewer inspections or weaken its safety oversight to save money, and called for a public debate before any changes are made to existing policy. He said, quote, it affects every power reactor in this country. We should absolutely hear from a broad range of stakeholders before making any far-reaching changes to NRC's safety oversight program. And before the recommendations were released on Tuesday, earlier this week, Democrats from the House Appropriations as well as Energy and Commerce committees expressed concerns about potential rollbacks of safety standards in a letter to NRC Chairwoman Christine Sviznicki on Monday. So, now the lawmakers, here's what they wrote in their letter. To ensure nuclear power provides safe, reliable, emissions-free energy, it is imperative for the NRC to uphold strong regulatory standards. That is why we are disturbed by the consideration of these far-reaching changes to the NRC's regulatory regime without first actively conducting robust public outreach and engagement. So basically, they want to ask regular people. Well, look, why don't you ask the experts? Oh, right, because the experts say, hey, we shouldn't do that. But they continue. It would be a mistake to attempt to make nuclear power more cost competitive by weakening NRC's vital safety oversight. Which, look, nuclear power is, of course, one of the most heavily regulated sources of forms of energy in the United States, and it does have its cost, but there is a point to that, so that we don't end up having 3 Mile Island in Chernobyl, because there was a time where nuclear power was less regulated. So look, I understand that hurts their cost competitiveness, right? But at the same time, you want to make sure that you have safe nuclear power. Besides, you have coal that is dying, but you have wind energy that is getting cheaper and cheaper, solar that is getting cheaper and cheaper, and there's a reason for that, because it doesn't have the negative side effects that nuclear power has, and therefore does not need to be as regulated tightly as nuclear power. So what this is that these staffers are saying, look, we got people in the nuclear energy industry. They want to make more money. They want these plants to be more cost efficient or cost effective. So we just get rid of the regulation. But back to this letter here, they said that cutting corners in such critical safety measures may eventually lead to a disaster that could be detrimental to the future of the domestic nuclear energy industry. Now, the AP's report on energy staffers' official recommendations also provoked further alarm from lawmakers and the public that some on Twitter decried as an insanely bad move and beyond nuts. I mean, yeah. When I look at the less, at them wanting to deregulate and not do as many inspections, it is nuts. Because again, you can have real issues with this. So now, on the other hand, right, and I'm going to anger some of you by saying this, but I'm actually in favor of nuclear power. I know, right? We've had Fukushima. We've had all these horrible disasters, right? I get it, right? But if you do it safely, with a lot of planning and a lot of oversight, and especially new technology, nuclear can be a pretty good bridge fuel, right? At least until we figure out fusion, which is, I understand, probably going to be a very, very long way off. I know it's only 10 years away, says everyone every 10 years, right? But look, I think that's one way that we can get off fossil fuels. And so that's a technology we have right now. And then, look, there's a huge, huge problem with, of course, nuclear waste. But there are reactor ideas that produce no waste. And so maybe some R&D on that. The liquid salt reactor, the thorium reactor, stuff like that. We can look into that as well. I don't think we should completely abandon nuclear energy because right now we're still using the very crudest kind of nuclear energy, and that's fission. But at the same time, we shouldn't deregulate the industry. That's a stupid move. It's going to lead to accidents. So, bad idea. Bad idea at all. So, look, I hope that this enough people get outraged about the whole plan to try to deregulate the nuclear industry in the public comment period, and hopefully enough noise gets raised online, I guess, by activists and all that, and scientists, that they decide, okay, we better not do this. So let's hope that online activism helps and works. If not, oh boy. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.